Hello, welcome to TisTalk.
Welcome to TisTalk. This is a podcast coming from Tisbury, Wiltshire and surrounding villages.
I'm Mary Myers.
And I'm Kate Gamm.
Well, welcome Kate to my study in Warder, aka the TisTalk studios.
High-tech studio, Mary.
Thanks for coming to co-host this week.
Pleasure.
So we normally ask co-hosts an item of international news and an item of local news that has piqued their interest. So what are they for you?
Okay, so I saw yesterday in the news that Helen Mirren, national treasure, who is now 80, she is to be awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Golden Globes next year.
All right.
And it just made me think and reflect on Helen Mirren. I mean, what a legend of stage, screen and TV. And I just love the way that she has excelled in art house films, in mainstream films like The Calendar Girls. She's in the Thursday Murder Club. But whatever she's in, she really brings something very special to it. And it made me think of the first film I saw her in, which is The Long Good Friday, back in 1979. And as a young actress, she insisted that the script was written in such a way that she had ownership of the role, that rather than just be Bob Hoskins' girlfriend, that she played a major part in the film. So she was his equal. He played an East End gangster, and Helen Mirren's role absolutely matched his. So I just am full of admiration for Helen Mirren and her Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh, great. And of course, I should have said to listeners who don't know you, I mean, you're a regular on TisTalk and you always cover our arts things, but you used to teach film and film studies, and so you're a real film buff and an expert. So
it took me back. It took me back to my lecturing career.
And something local?
This is a hyper-local, and it's from this month's Focus magazine.
Yeah.
Now, Mary, you and I went along to the Lawrence Edwards exhibition at Messham's Gallery a little while ago, and we were sort of taken aback, really, at the sort of how challenging those exhibits were. And it's lovely to see in Focus magazine that Tisbury School has been taken along there. So 2 classes, Year 5 and Year 6, so 10, 11-year-olds have been taken to Messham's Gallery to look at the Lawrence Edwards exhibition. Good on St John's School for taking children to see an exhibition like that, because we found it quite challenging, didn't we? But what I also like is that going back to the school, the students have been encouraged to create something inspired by Edwards' work. So at a time when art subjects, cultural subjects are being kind of under threat in schools, here is a school that is taking children to the exhibition and then inviting them to put it into their own practice in the classroom. I think that's brilliant news.
Yeah, it is brilliant. And of course, making the most of this brilliant resource we have, of course, in our midst, which is Messham's.
Exactly.
Totally free and world-class venue. Yeah.
It just shows it's accessible to all of us, to young children, whatever our age, whatever our background. Messham's is there for us all.
Yeah. So, on with the show. Coming up, we've got a wonderful mix for you this week, from remembrance and reading to gardening, music, and a rather special tree, which is your tree.
That's right. Coming up later in the programme, I'll be sharing a story about a beautiful silver birch that means a lot to me. But first, we begin on a more reflective note.
Tomorrow is, of course, Poppy Day, and Anne Martin has been speaking to David Childs, who helps organise the commemorations here in Tisbury. In retirement, David has set up the National Memorial Arboretum in Staffordshire. He also tells us about his project with the Mary Rose.
I'm with David Childs today, who lives in Chicksgrove. Many of you will be familiar with David because he organises our Mistress Day at the War Memorial in Tisbury every year. Most of his career was spent as a naval officer, but since he retired, he's had a very interesting post-career. So can you tell us what you did when you first retired from the Navy?
Well, I got involved with creating the National Memorial Arboretum up in Staffordshire, which was a millennium project at the time. opened in 2001 by the Duchess of Kent, who's just sadly departed. I spent 10 years planting trees and then went to develop the new museum at the Mary Rose down in Portsmouth.
How did you become involved in the Arboretum? What inspired you to do this?
I was on a trip to Washington and had some time off and went to the National Arboretum and Arlington Cemetery on the same day and woke up in the night with the idea that you could put those two things together. It might work somewhere in Britain. And then on the flight back, I saw an article in the Telegraph which said there was going to be a national forest created in the Midlands. So I wrote to them with my idea and it was adopted and we started. And I'd never planted a tree, raised any money or bought any land. So it was starting right at basic, something I'd never come across doing before. And it worked, which was really due much more to luck than any good judgment by me.
Gosh, but you spent 10 years on this project, didn't you? Roughly?
Yes, we started, the land we started was reclaimed gravel works. It was dreadful condition. And so it took a while to clear all that. And then the trees we planted were saplings about 18 inches tall. And now they're 20 odd foot. And it's turned out to be a really wonderful place. It gets over 300,000 visitors a year. So it's can judge it quite successful now.
Gosh, you must have had some serious funding behind you, though, and some important people to push this project along.
Not really. I had a lot of important people agree to be patrons as long as they all said they didn't have to do any work. So we could use their name but not ask them to do anything. It was created by volunteers. A huge number of local people wanted to get involved, and they all would do whatever you asked them to do. There was no sort of people mucked out loos, served a table, washing their hands between the two tasks, but or planted trees. It was a brilliant example of volunteer work.
Gosh, that's fantastic. It sounds like a place even better than Tisbury in terms of volunteers and getting involved in things. How wonderful. And tell me a bit about the Mary Rose Trust. How did you get involved in that?
Well, for the future of the Arboretum was created really by sort of one person with volunteers, and it couldn't survive on that rate. So I managed to get the British Legion to adopt it, which left me free to look at something else. And I was asked to go and have a look at the Mary Rose, and which I've known ever since she was raised. And they wanted somebody to develop the new museum, to put all the artifacts on the show. So I very willingly started to travel to Portsmouth to do that. I have to say, not very successfully. I had to hand it over after 3 years to somebody who made a far better job than I was doing.
I don't believe that. I remember you took the History Society on a visit to Mary Rose about 8 years ago or so, which was wonderful. Fantastic
Yeah, it's a
visit.
lovely place to show people around. There's so much to sort of amaze.
I'm also very interested in two books that you wrote, and I'm sure people in Tisbury will be too. One is the book Invading America, and the follow-on New World, Old Wars. Can you tell us a bit about these books?
The first one looks at how the English actually settled into America, and in fact what was an invasion, a takeover of somebody else's land. The second book actually covers the period when Mayhew and some local people from Tisbury and Chilmark were settling in America, and they were in fact very different with sort of Quaker outlook on life. They very much worked with the native population, and in fact when war broke out in New England between the settlers and the native population, Mayhew's area was one where there was no fighting. They just continued getting on well together. So good reflection on a Wiltshire upbringing.
Yes. And so you live in Chicksgrove now. How long have you lived in this area?
33 years.
33 years.
We moved the day after the Great Storm.
Oh, right.
So all the trees we thought we had were 90 degrees out from their previous position.
So many of these projects you talked about in retirement, you've been doing while you've been living in Chicksgrove then?
Oh, yes, all of them, yeah.
Right. That's great. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you. That was fun.
And that was part of the last post played at Tisbury War Memorial. And if you'd like to hear the full interview with David Childs, including his Desert Island Disc request, then go online to tistalk.co.uk and you can find David Childs' full interview under bonus material.
What a thoughtful way to start the week. Thank you to David and to Anne for that. Now, from remembrance to reading. As we've been celebrating new chapters on Tisbury's High Street with Chloe Fox's lovely new bookshop, it's good to remember that our neighbours in Mere have been celebrating the written word also. I went along to the Mere Literary Festival, which took place in October, and here's my report. Okay, so I'm here with Carol Stevens, one of the organisers of the Mere Literary Festival. How's it gone so far?
Oh, absolutely brilliant. We're so thrilled. We started with a quiz on Monday, which wasn't really literary, but we had a literary element and it was really well attended and great fun evening. So that was brilliant. Yesterday we had Tim Bouverie, which was a sellout. And we ended with Josie Lloyd yesterday, and she was phenomenal. Yeah, and then we've just had Radika, which we're now all starving.
Well, I was at that one. It was absolutely brilliant. And the lovely fragrances that was coming from the cooking demonstration.
One of the things she mentions, which I know we'll sit down and discuss afterwards, maybe doing another demo, but then doing a supper club in the evening, which wouldn't that be wonderful?
Fantastic.
Really
Having
good.
tried some of her food, I would love to have a supper club experience with Radika.
Oh, well, we'll let you know when it's on and you can come and book, because I think what we're trying to do with the festival is introduce different elements. So things like the quiz, things like the cooking demonstrations. So yeah, for next year, more of this. So it's a real mixture of sitting and listening, people in conversation, demonstrations, supper club. So really mixing it up and growing the festival is where we see it going. The sort of downside to our venues is they're much smaller than maybe some of the bigger festivals. The upside is it's more intimate. And I think that creates a different atmosphere in its own. So the authors seem to really enjoying the venue, and it is lovely and it works brilliantly for us.
I mean, it's a nice capacity because it doesn't take long to queue up to get your book signed or to chat with the author.
Yeah.
It's got that intimacy where you do feel very engaged with the people who are appearing here.
I think so. And I think that's really important. As you say, we've thought very carefully about the flow of how we've done it. So they come into one room one way. They come in and get their wine or their teas and coffees. They come into the main room. We have the talk, and then it's out another way straight into the bookshop.
I was thinking it must be really nice for the village, for the pubs, the cafes, the charity shops. Must be a footfall into Mere this week.
We very much hope so. We advertised quite extensively around in all the villages. We've got people from London. We've got people from Wincanton. We've got people from all over, and we're hoping that will just grow. Mere is so accessible, and so the more people we can attract from out of the area, the better it is for everybody, the shops, the pubs, everything. The quiz was held at the Walnut Tree, and they are just about to open another part of the pub. They've refurbished, so they're really keen next year as well to get involved, so we can actually bring them in. And they were so supportive; they were fantastic.
And that's to support local charities, the quiz?
Yes. Well, the whole festival is supporting charities, primarily the Link scheme, which is really to provide drivers to people to take to hospital appointments or pick up medication or wherever they want to go.
Actually, we have that within Tisbury.
Do you?
The Link scheme. Yes, we do.
It's such a fantastic scheme. And then Seeds for Success, which is supporting teenagers. And our plan really is to extend the charities, because we've got so many clubs and things like preschool that all need funding. They all need funds. So the more we can attract into the village, the more we can raise, the more charities we'll be able to support.
Mm-hmm.
But every penny that is raised is going to charities within the community. And all the volunteers, all the committee members are working for the good of the town. Wonderful.
Fantastic. We also have Seeds for Success presence in Tisbury as well. So it's lovely that we've got that crossover between our two villages.
Fantastic.
Well, it's all been fantastic so far, Carol. I wish you all the best for the rest of the week.
Thank you.
And thanks so much for spending some time with me this
thank
afternoon.
you. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the events.
That was nice. It must have been a nice atmosphere. I'm sorry to have missed that Mere Literary Festival.
Put it in your diary for next year.
Yes, I will.
Follow us on Instagram at TisTalk Radio.
Now, from books to bulbs, Rosie Buck has been out with the Tisbury Gardening Club, bringing a bit of colour to the high street and helping to brighten things up for spring. So I'm with Rosie Buck, Gardening Society head, is that right?
Chair of the Gardening Club, yes.
Okay. Tell us what's going on here with all these manoeuvres.
All these, horticultural manoeuvres on the high street is that we are swapping over from the summer display to the hopefully spring bulb display, but also with a bit of winter interest with some polyanthus. So I came along with a couple of parish councillors on Thursday, and we cleared out the bedding that was here, and some of the shopkeepers have taken the bedding, which is great, and they'll see if they can overwinter it, and I'm seeing if I can overwinter other bits of it. And then today we've got a lovely lot of volunteers here, both from the parish council but the gardening club and other members of the community, which is absolutely lovely. And what we're doing is we are then filling the troughs that are around the square, and then also the wooden troughs that are going up the high street, with a mixture of 3 different types of tulip, some narcissi, which is called Cheerfulness, so hopefully that should cheer us all up.
Nice.
Next March. And then on top of that we're putting some polyanthus in, and in some of the troughs there will be some little iris reticulatas, which are nice and early, that will pop up as well.
Okay.
So that's the idea.
Is this something called lasagna planting by any chance?
I think it is called lasagna
Okay.
planting, indeed.
Yeah.
So the way we've done it is, so that's why we've got a layer of grit for the tulips to sit on, because they like a nice lot of drainage, and then we put the narcissi on top because the narcissi come out earlier than the tulips, and then the polyanthus are obviously hopefully going to give us winter sort of colour before any of that happens, and then the iris reticulata are what we're having as our little early bulbs.
Great,
sort
it's
of on
going to
top
look
of that.
great.
We hope so. Yes,
Yes.
we'll see. We'll wait and see.
Yeah. So is it the parish council who's paid for all this?
Yes, very much so. So it's a joint project between the parish council and the gardening club. So the parish council have paid for all the materials, and then, as I say, it's a mixture of, and the bulbs.
plants,
Yes, yeah,
and the planters.
indeed.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. So the planters were bought by the parish council actually in January, and they paid also for the summer bedding, and then as I say, they've now paid for all the bulbs and all the polyanthus, and then the labour is all volunteer labour, which is wonderful. So yes, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
You're listening to TisTalk from Tisbury in Wiltshire and the Nadder Valley.
Lovely to hear so many people getting stuck in. Those bulbs will make such a difference once they flower. Now, from planting to performing. Last weekend saw not one, but 2 beautiful concerts in Tisbury, organised by the Cherubim Trust. Mary, you have a connection with Cherubim, don't you?
Yes. There's an instrument in our family. It was my grandfather's cello, and it is now called the Myers cello because we've loaned it to one of the Cherubim awardees. And I talked to Kit Cookson, who played on Sunday, and he played my grandfather's cello, so that was rather lovely.
Hi, I'm Kit Cookson. I'm 19. I'm a student at the Guildhall School of Music and Drama, and I've been loaned the Myers cello. It's a really gorgeous instrument with such a rich history. I found that it has a really sonorous sort of lower register, which is really good for the type of music that I love to play. And I'm so grateful to be loaned the instrument.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm with Jessica Reed.
Hi, hello. It's been a beautiful and exhilarating concert, and it's just really young people playing so well together, with style and enthusiasm and panache. And having got to talk to some of the musicians, I am amazed how very hard they work, how timetabled they are. There's very little spare time, and they are very dedicated at such. Most of them are under 20.
So you've been hosting. You've been hosting one of the musicians.
Right? Actually, 2 of them. Two of the violinists. It's the 3rd year we've hosted violinists for the Cherubim, and it's always a delight and always very interesting. And just love the chats we have with them around the meal table.
Yes, great. And I mean, have you been a supporter of Cherubim from quite a long time?
No, not really. Probably about the last sort of 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, not bad. And what do you think Maxwell brings to the village?
Oh, I think it's a professional level. It's a high level of great music. In fact, my mother was just saying, we don't get things like this in the country. It's usually in London, but actually you do, and we do, and we're very, very fortunate in Tisbury to get all that we get. Actually, great quality music, lovely location. The church looked brilliant this evening with the floodlights on. I thought.
Thank you very much, Jessica.
You're most welcome.
And that was Star Wars The Force Awakens, John Williams, a little bit of that. Ending that report about Cherubim Chamber Strings, that was last Sunday, 2nd of November in St John's Church, organised by the amazing Maxwell and Clancy Steer for the Cherubim Music Trust, and for the delectation and delight for all of us who attended those concerts here in Tisbury.
Follow us on Instagram at TisTalk Radio.
And now for something a little closer to home. My home, actually. I wanted to share the story of a tree that means a lot to me, a tall, graceful silver birch that stands proudly in my front garden. Here's why it's so special. Well, we are standing in front of my favourite tree, which is very different from Julianne's favourite tree, because hers is the yew tree, which is extremely old. And my nominated tree is relatively recent because it has the same age as the house that I live in. So I live in Beckford Close, and my house is just near the footpath that leads from the village. I'm not sure if it has a name or not, but it ends up at the Beckford Arms. But there is a cut-off point where you can just pop down and you're in Beckford Close itself, and we often have dog walkers walking up and down the pathway. And as you come down the path to your right, you will see the silver birch tree in my front garden. And this was planted at the time that the house was built in the early 1970s. And it fascinates me that the tree, in all its glory, is about the same age as the house that I live in. Obviously, it's grown an awful lot since then. The house has changed a lot since then. We've made changes to it ourselves in the 3 years that we've lived here. So, yes, it's a landmark for us, and it's a landmark if you're walking down this pathway towards Hindon Lane from the footpath. And it's in full bloom, so it's beautiful green. I can just see some yellow as we sort of tip towards autumn. And what's clearly happened in the past is that one of the lower branches has been severed, and this has left an enormous gaping hole near the base of the tree. Doesn't seem to have caused any lasting damage, but I don't know whether birds have a nest in that little hole that we can see, that little house potential there. But the tree goes up at 2 spurs from the baseline. I don't know if that's unusual for silver birch, but it's a fantastic sort of climbing tree. When children come to see us, it's a great tree to just sort of shimmy up, and you can sit up there and unseen for quite some time. Never tried it myself. I must do that.
You're listening to TisTalk from Tisbury, Wiltshire.
Next we have the What's On listings with Lal Poynter. That's almost the end of the show, but don't go away, because after that we have a lovely soundscape, or an exciting soundscape, from the Bonfire night at St John's on the 7th of November.
And here are the What's-Ons from Monday the 10th to the 16th of November. On Monday the 10th, the Tisbury Footpath Club Maintenance Group will start off at 9:30am. Details, please phone 01747 871 105. On Tuesday the 11th at 11am at the War Memorial in Tisbury, there will be a short act of remembrance. Then at 7:30pm, local author Nicholas Shakespeare will be giving a talk about the writer Ian Fleming, creator of James Bond, and this will be at the History Society in the Hinton Hall at 7:30. On Wednesday the 12th, the Tisbury Memory Group will meet from 10am to 12 noon at the Hinton Hall. Then at 2pm in Hindon Village Hall, the Women's Institute group for Hindon and the Fonthills will be meeting at 2pm. The speaker is Inez Lopez de Riga from Wessex Archaeology, with a talk about plants in archaeology. From 2 to 4pm, the Tisbury Fitness and Friendship Club will be held at the Nadder Close Sheltered Housing in Tisbury. Then at 4pm, St John's Church, there will be a service of wholeness and healing. On Thursday the 13th, from 2:30 to 4:15pm in Victoria Hall, there will be afternoon tea with the ukulele band. And at 7 for 7:30pm at Victoria Hall, there will be a Natural History Society talk. Friday the 14th at the New Vic, the film will be John Cleese Packs It In. This will be showing at 7:30pm. Tickets are £15 or £8 for under 18s, and the number to call is 0300 302 3090 or www.newvictisbury.com. On Saturday the 15th, from 10 to 11, it will be the Victoria Hall Country Market. At Tokes Farm on Tokes Lane, Semley, there will be a sale of pre-loved clothes in aid of War Child from 10 to 4, and that's cash only, please. At 2:30pm, Victoria Hall Junior Tag presents The Jingle Book. Adults £6.50 and children £4.50. Book online at www.tisburyartsgroup.co.uk. And at 6:30 to 10:30pm, Hinton Hall Family Quiz Night is for Salisbury Hospice. Sunday the 16th, there will be an otter survey organised by Young Nature Watch from 10 till 12 noon. Email youngtnhs@gmail.com for further information. And the second showing of the junior tag presentation of the Jingle Book will be at 2:30pm at the Victoria Hall. And looking ahead, St John's is holding their annual charities fair on Saturday the 22nd of November from 10:30 to 12:30 in Hinton Hall. There will be stalls run by charities and the church. Please can you donate raffle prizes, paperback books, unwanted gifts, lots of bottles for the bottle tombola. Any bottle will be gratefully accepted. It doesn't have to be alcohol. Produce such as jams, marmalade, Christmas chutney, as well as cakes and mince pies for the cake stall and teas. Please support this fete in aid of St John's, charities and the community. Please also start collecting. Contact Trish on 07765 226 705 or Sally on 07929 435 474. And that's it for this week.
And that brings us almost to the end of this week's TisTalk.
A big thank you to all our guests, David Childs, Anne Martin, Rosie Buck, the Gardening Club, and everyone at the Cherubim Trust and the Mere Literary Festival.
If you've enjoyed this episode, do tell a friend or neighbour about TisTalk. You can find us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Index, the list goes on, or simply just go to the website tistalk.co.uk.
And if someone you know isn't too sure how to listen, why not show them? It's a lovely way to stay connected with what's happening here in Tisbury and around the Nadder Valley.
So that's goodbye from me and Kate, and to play us out, here's a little soundscape from St John's School's Bonfire Night.